Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this session, Save Invisibility for Superheroes, Research Should Be Seen. I'll very shortly introduce our speaker, but a few bits of housekeeping before I do. Firstly, to make you aware, this conference is being recorded. This session is going to last for half an hour, so I'll try and keep us moving pretty quickly so we can cover everything and give you plenty of time for questions. And you can submit those questions right the way throughout the session in the questions tab on the right of your screen. And please talk about us. You can use the hashtag make it public to share these discussions on social media. And so with no further ado, let's get started. We know that registering trials reduces research waste, it prevents duplication and means that more people can find out about studies to join. ISRCTN is recognised by the WHO as the UK's primary clinical trials registry and makes all study records in its database freely accessible and searchable. We've partnered with them to automatically register clinical trials from 2022 using the information that's already collected through the approvals process. This aims to take the burden of doing this away from the researchers and sponsors and making transparency easy for them and saving them time. This is a big step to help realise our vision for research to be transparent right from the start. Claire Veryard, Database Manager of the ISRCTN Registry, is joining us today. She'll talk us through how this will work to ensure that research is seen going forward. And just before I introduce her, also to say that Naho Yamazaki, Head of Policy Engagement here at HRA, will also join us for the question session later so that we can cover all of your different questions. So with no further ado, over to Claire.
Good afternoon, everyone, and thanks to the HRA for inviting me to present. As Becky said, I'm the manager of the ISRCTN registry, and I'd like to give an introduction to the registry and what we're doing to encourage research transparency. So the ISRCTN registry is one of 17 registries in the World Health Organization's primary registry network. And this means that we all follow the WHO's international standards for clinical trial registries. These 17 registries, plus clinicaltrials.gov, are recognised by the WHO and the ICMJE as meeting their requirements for trial registration. So the registry is owned by the ISRCTN company. This is a non-profit organisation, and that's required by the WHO standards. The registry is managed by BMC, and that's part of the publishing company Springer Nature. As a bit of background, the first ISRCTN number was assigned to a registration in 2000. And then in 2006, the ISRCTN registry was one of the 3 founder registries of the WHO's International Clinical Trials Registry Platform, or ICTRP. And this the ICTRP gathers together all the information from the primary registries and makes it searchable in one place. Another major milestone for the registry was the launch of the UK Clinical Trials Gateway in 2011. And this is what's now evolved into Be Part of Research. So it's an NHS website that takes information on studies recruiting in the UK from ISRCTN and clinicaltrials.gov and enables the public to search for clinical research that's going on near them. The ISRCTN provided records in Be Part of Research prominently display the plain English summary, and this was introduced at the point when the UK Clinical Trials Gateway was launched. So, you know, the structure of the ISRCTN record has continued to be developed in response to various requirements and needs. So, for example, changes to the WHO standards, and also to encourage researchers to keep the record up to date and post results to the registry record. So these are a few things that we've introduced over the years. Cool. So what does the ISRCTN registry do? So the registry can accept any study that involves people or populations and measures outcomes in human health and well-being. So actually this means that the registry includes quite a wide range of research, including educational, public health and economic development interventions, as well as, you know, studies in health and social care settings. And it can accept submissions from any location. So we cover anywhere in the world as well as the UK. So once a study record has been submitted to the registry, an ISRCTN editor checks through it and asks for any missing or unclear information. So it's the editor's job to ensure that the record is complete and clear and accessible before it's registered. The WHO standards say that a trial record in a registry is considered out of date when the last update was made more than 12 months previously and there are no results posted to it. So like many of the other registries, we send reminders to as prompts to update the record, and we send them depending on various milestone dates within the research. So at the moment, the updates are made and recorded by editors, and we, you know, part of the WHO standards is that there's a publicly visible audit trail of any changes to the trial record, so people can see what, you know, previous versions and what the current version is. And once the study is completed, we also send reminders to post results. And we update published results and protocols from daily PubMed alerts. Also just look out for results of studies mentioned in the news, on Twitter and so on. For records that haven't had an update for some time and don't have results added, the editors will proactively search for publications or, you know, some or any other update on the record, on the study. So all the data from ISRCTN can be downloaded and reused, and it's also combined with data from other registries in platforms like ICTRP, Be Part of Research, and the NIHR's Scan Medicine website. So yeah. So the HRA's 4 elements of research transparency, as we've heard earlier, are registering studies, reporting results, informing participants, and sharing data and tissue samples. Obviously, we're heavily involved in the registering studies side, but this then facilitates all of the other elements. So the registration is the first step. We want the registry record to be seen as a living document, you know, shouldn't be seen as a snapshot registration that's then forgotten about until it's time to post results or even like forevermore. So this is why we kind of, we're very active in prompting updates. And that then means that when people are looking at the study on Be Part of Research or any of the other websites that use the data, they'll be able to see a more accurate version. And we also look at kind of the undeliverable messages and automatic replies that we get when we send the reminders. And, you know, that's a flag for that the contact details have gone out of date. So, you know, we actively kind of update, make sure that those contact details are valid as well. And that means that public users are more likely to be able to easily contact somebody about the trial. So something else that should be thought about is that the trial registration number that you get when you register a study is a unique identifier. So that means that if that number is quoted on all of the materials that are produced from the study, it makes it so much easier for someone to find all of the information that they need relating to the study. And then also, if the trial record is updated with all of those materials, it can act like an information hub for anyone trying to find out about what's going on with this research. So something that I'm really pleased about this year is that we've implemented what we're calling the trial outputs table. So I've just, you should be able to see a kind of example of that at the moment. So this pulls together all of the outputs into a single place in the record. And as you can see, you know, you've got different output types. You've got a place to put, you know, some notes about what kind of results they are, for example, and things like that. And it can be sorted by the date created or the date added, and whether the information has been peer reviewed or is intended to be patient facing. So this outputs table helps to encourage research transparency in a few ways. So one of those ways is that the outputs table provides the logic for faceting of search results on the registry website. So when you do a search, or if you press the View All Studies tab, and that shows you all of the published records on the registry, it's kind of divided up into these different results statuses, and that's fed from the trial outputs table. So it's quite flexible because, say for the protocols, the protocol could be an uploaded file, it could be a link to a protocol on a trial website, or it could be a preprint or a published article. And for the results, it could be an uploaded basic results summary, it could be a link to basic results on another registry, or it could be something else like an abstract or a funder report, as well as your traditional journal article of results. And actually the facets also pull out the peer-reviewed ones as well. So if you're only interested in those, then you can see them. So the one that says in the results, that says without results 1 year after trial end date. So that uses the overall trial end date, which is like the completion date, last patient, last visit, and the absence of results in the outputs table. And this makes it really easy for an organisation to be able to see which of their, you know, which of the trials that they're sponsoring needs to have the results added. So we also have a kind of results overdue label on the trial record, and that works on the same logic as that facet. But you know, the flexibility around the different type, the results types accepted, means that as long as some results have been made available and linked to the registry record, then on the record it will say that there are results. So I've listed here the current list of output types that are available on ISRCTN. So that includes public-facing documents like PPIE documents and plain English results, which is the lay summary of results. I mean, there may well be other types that we need to add, maybe over time. So please let us know if you think there's something else that should be added, because we want to be able to, you know, link to anything that's really useful about the study. So the third element of transparency is the data and sample sharing, and this really maximizes the value obtained from running a study and reduces research waste. So an individual de-identified participant data, or IPD, sharing statement is required at registration by the WHO and the ICMJE. And we've now moved that sharing statement into its own dedicated field within the ISRCTN record. And we've improved the options for summarising the plan so that more than one option can be selected. And also the trial outputs table can be updated with links to data sets and sample collections. This is quite new functionality though, so we don't have many links yet. So we're thinking about how and when to ask people to add the links to the raw data and any samples that they can share. we also want to make the data availability more visible within the trial record and search results, and that kind of incentivize people who are actively sharing the data and samples. So in terms of supporting informing participants and the public, so all ISRCTN records have a plain English summary at registration. And, you know, because we've got a long-standing relationship with Be Part of Research, we really take our responsibility to help make research accessible to the public seriously. So the public target documents can be added to the record at any time. But if there's anything else that they think that we could do, we'd be really interested in your ideas. So yeah, please feel free to get in touch about that. So just to summarize then, registering in a trial is the first step that makes it easier to keep the trial information current and visible, and then report the results and share the data and samples. Doing these things makes research, you know, much more sustainable, because it ensures that the impacts from funding and you know, participant blood, sweat and tears that Matt mentioned are all maximised and not wasted. So, you know, the partnership between ISRCTN and the HRA is going to make that first step happen more automatically, which will then make it easy and the norm to make it public. So yeah, and now I'm keen to hear about your questions and comments. So yeah, over to you, Becky.
Sorry, taking me a second to unmute there, out of practice. Thank you so much, Claire. That was a really good run through of how this will work. And I'm sure there are lots of questions coming in. I'm just going to invite Naho to join us as well, as she'll be able to help us. I'm just having a bit of a hiccup with my questions where I can't get any of them. I know we've got some who've come in, but I can't see them. There's something seems to be going wrong here. Ah, there we go. They're coming through now. Right, sorry about that, technical issues. So one of the first questions I've been asked was actually just a very basic one of how much is this going to cost? Is it free, or does this incur extra costs in registering research?
No, it will be free to the researcher and sponsor for all of the studies that come through from the HRA.
Someone has asked, several people have asked, what does ISRCTN stand for?
Right,
sorry, so ISRCTN. I even got it the wrong way around.
Yeah, so originally it stood for, it stands for International Standard Randomized Controlled Trial Number, but you know, we've expanded the remit outside of randomized controlled trials, so so we try not to use the full name so much now. Yeah.
Someone has asked here, are feasibility studies included?
Yes.
I've got quite a complex one here from Alan Calvert. To whom do I owe a duty of transparency? Asks, obviously to my research participants and whoever funded the research. Ethically and indeed legally, I should report unexpected harm, but why should I raise public expectations of a successful product that may not help reach the market or help my competitors shorten their R&D lead times and harm my profits? That's perhaps one for you, Naho, about the principles of transparency.
So in terms of the protection of commercial sensitive information, there is a process of deferring registration so that there is a lag time before the full disclosure can has to happen. In terms of the first bit of the question, Becky, could you just recap that? So what the duty.
So that was really helpful on the commercial side. So also asked to who do they owe the duty of transparency? Basically, the principle of transparency. Is it going to raise expectations?
Okay.
What's it helping doing? Telling people when you're setting out on the research that you're planning to do it.
I think the way we look at this is that results of studies, whether it's positive and negative, should be made public. And that serves a broader kind of benefit to the community, because it means that the researchers are not necessarily going to repeat the same experiment and potentially harm people by doing that, or actually waste resources by repeating something that we know doesn't work. And that would ultimately be for the benefit of the patients and the public as well. So, even though you might think that you do an experiment with a potential outcome that doesn't produce the benefit that you're expecting, I think the publication of the outcome that is really valuable for everybody concerned.
I mean, even negative results are, useful.
Thanks both.
So this similar question came up in the previous session. We have issued a final report, and we're asking for lay summary results to be included in that. The submission of the final report itself is a requirement, but the inclusion of the lay summary results is, I would say, best practice at the moment. And as soon as we receive those, we'll publish that on our website. But like I said, there isn't necessarily a date by which this applies. Final reports that are due now should be submitted, and we are, the intention is that those lay summaries are provided as part of that as good practice. So there isn't a kind of cut-off date as such that we're thinking of at the moment. And in terms of lay summary for your registry, Claire, that gets put up when the study is registered. That's right, isn't it? Because it's about the study.
Yeah, so there's the plain English summary that explains the kind of the protocol of the study at the start. And then, if there's a lay summary of results, we can add that into the trial outputs table at the end of the study. Or a link to, if it's hosted on the HRA website.
Oh, and in terms of timeline as well, so the submission of that final report where we expect the lay summary result is meant to come to us 12 months after the end of the study. So that's another timeline, if that was the question.
Thank you both. We've got a few questions here about the fact that what about research that isn't going to be captured by this registration? So this is taking clinical trials. What about non-clinical trials, ethics studies, things like that?
So I can tell that again. So at the moment, all studies that are reviewed by research ethics committees are published on the HRA's research summaries website. So there is already a mechanism of finding out about studies, whether they actually are going to take place or not. A summary of those studies on our website, and we have plans to improve that functionality of that website to provide more information there as well. So whilst the plan isn't to register all the studies, that there is a mechanism to surface the information about other studies. So that's how we're trying to address that particular issue.
Great, thank you. And some more practical questions for you, Claire. Does the ISRCTN allow for the upload of results documents, or does it only allow to add text and links?
Yeah, you can also upload files. The WHO standards have a standard format for summary results, which are, it's like 4 sections that can be submitted to us as a Word file or a PDF, and then we'll upload them. And the same for protocols as well. So yeah.
Great. And another practical one. adding the TRN tool trial materials, they're already required to add IRAS trial ID to documents. Will that be the same number, or is that going to be 2 identifier numbers?
Oh, right. Yeah, well, I guess, do they add, people aren't likely to be adding an IRAS number to their published results, are they?
I think that one's something that we need further thought on. No, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a kind of recommendation to have something that, you know, the TRN gives you a unique identifier that you can then use to kind of, you know, tag all of your documents or whatever. So.
We have a question here, which is perhaps one for both of you. Who authors the plain English summary at this trial at the start of the study? Because I know you were talking a lot, Claire, about how the registry does a lot of work to sort of follow up information, but that's very much with the trial authors, isn't it?
Yeah, well, we try to get the trial authors to do it, but if they don't, then yeah, we all try and write something simple from the information provided. You know, the registrant will always have a chance to, you know, see that and make any changes that they want to.
But you do offer that service of writing something if it's not provided.
So there's a similar question here about whether RECS would ask for that plain English summary as well, given that it's required for registration.
Well, there is a lay summary in the IRS form. So at the moment, that doesn't have the same format as the ISRCTN one, but we, you know, yeah, we probably need to think about whether we want to be more flexible about that, or, you know, so yeah, so there is already a kind of REC requirement for it because it's in the IRS form.
And that's the bit that gets published on our website at the moment.
And we've touched on this before, but it's a question that I think people are really interested in, is both, will this be free for everyone, including from devolved nations?
Yes. And
will it definitely be coming in from 1st of January 2022?
We haven't set a specific date as the 1st of January, but it will be in the new year, and we'll make that communicate that soon.
Great, thank you. I'm just trying to dig out because where there's any repeat questions in here, we've got a lot of similar questions about the detail here. I think we've probably covered most of the detail people were asking about. Claire, if there's anything specific that people want to understand a little bit more, are there people they can contact at the registry to understand how the information is going out?
Yeah, so we have a contact email, so it's info@isrctn.com, and you can have a look on the ISRCTN website as well.
Maybe we can see if we can provide those links through the chat. I can't see this chat function, unfortunately, being on the platform.
Yes, that sounds like a good way forward. One other thing people were interested in asking, I've got another question here, is about how sponsors and researchers can see what has been sent to ISRCTN. Are they able to see it before it goes? Can they see what has gone over?
Yeah, so they should get probably at least a couple of opportunities to see what's in there, you know, how the record's looking before it's published. We could probably build something into it that shows what it's like kind of on submission, although that might not be super complete at the start because of the mapping of fields between IRS and ISRCTN. So yeah, I mean, if that's something that people would like to see, then yeah, we could maybe try to build that in. because, you know, at the moment when people submit a study using our online form, when they press the submit button, they get a kind of a copy of what they've submitted. So the mechanism is there.
Great. I've got one more technical question. Sorry, we're very bitty because there's lots of different technical questions coming and people are really interested to know how it will work. One about the lay summaries. Would they allow non-text features such as graphics, which many lay summaries might use as a more effective way of presenting information?
Yeah, well, we could probably facilitate that in a couple of ways. So we could maybe either link to, so at the moment, actually, we link to Cancer Research UK lay summaries, where the study's been registered in ISRCTN. So we could link to the lay summary somewhere else, and if it's got graphics in it, then fine. And then we can also upload files, so we could do it that way as well.
Great, so it's got that functionality, and I get the sense that it's going to be a process where you're looking at what's useful and needed and working to sort of accommodate that.
Yeah, because we're keen to, you know, be flexible about these things and you know, and make it as accessible as possible. I guess the problem there is, you know, how does it look, how does it end up on be part of research? So yeah, we might need to do some work with them to make that happen.
We've got a few questions here about also what if trials change during the process of them being undertaken, so end dates might move. Is it easy to update? You talked a little bit about how you sort of keep updating the system.
Yeah, and at the moment we do it through that system. We are hoping to be able to take a feed from IRAS when there have been amendments. So yeah, so people should be able to do it in either system potentially.
So if you are making amendments and that would have come through IRAS, then we will pass on that information to ISRCTN, so you don't have to do it twice.
Great. So the emphasis remains throughout on how to simplify the system and harmonise to try and reduce the number of times information has to be inputted. Yeah. Brilliant. I'm going to draw us to a close here because we were running just to end of session. Thank you so much, Claire. That was absolutely brilliant and a really good overview. And we'll try and get the information and the links for further information onto the chat so that everybody can access it. And thank you very much, Naho, for joining us for more questions. Everyone, I hope they enjoy the rest of the day. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Brilliant. Thanks both. Bye.
Bye.